Welcome back, everyone. While producing videos for this channel, I've often reflected on how absolutely wonderful it must be to be a Muslim man. I can only give some of the reasons why in this video, but you can list some more in the comments section below. First, Muslim men are in charge of disciplining women up to and including the old smackaroo. As for those women whom you fear may be rebellious, admonish them, avoid them in bed, and finally, strike them. Let's just go ahead and shut the predictable Muslim apologetics up right now and acknowledge that the verb strike in the Quran has a very wide semantic range. Allah decided to leave the interpretation of the verb to strike wide open for Muslim men. Now let's look at what happens later on in the same surah when a woman fears rebellion from her husband. If a woman fears rebelliousness from her husband, admonish him, avoid him in bed, and finally strike him. Just kidding, that's not actually what it says. If a woman fears rebelliousness from her husband or desertion, there is no blame on the two of them if they set things right between themselves. So when a Muslim man fears rebellion from his wife, he can discipline her, maybe even give her a good smackaroo. After all, spare the rod, spoil the child. When the situation is reversed, it may cost the woman. To see how, let's turn to the Study Quran, which quotes numerous Muslim commentators, as you see in the parenthetical abbreviations. I've also added some of my own expert commentary in brackets. A husband may discipline his wife, or wives, obviously, to counter her animosity or disrespect toward him, while a woman facing animosity or desertion from her husband is, by contrast, and much more favorably for the man, encouraged to arrange and accord with him, even though the man is in the wrong. According to most commentators, who are mostly perverted Muslim men and maybe just a little bit biased, this means agreeing to give her husband part of the bridal payment or other property, or forfeiting some of her rights as a wife, for example, to conjugal relations or financial maintenance, in order to remain married to her husband and avoid desertion or divorce. Yes, you read that right. Women have to forfeit to remain married to a husband who is acting rebelliously. Because of the possibility of polygamy in Islam, this may mean agreeing to allow her husband to spend more time or money on another, perhaps younger or more desirable co-wife. And in relation to this verse, some cite the case of Sauda bin Zama, an older wife of the Prophet who agreed to give her allotted night with the Prophet to his young, do they not want to say 9-year-old, wife Aisha. You know your interpretation is correct when you can cite an example of Muhammad, the greatest Muslim man of all time. But why doesn't the same argument work in reverse? Why can't women have multiple husbands, and if one of the husbands acts rebellious, then the woman just spends more time with another husband? That brings us to our second reason it's great to be a Muslim man. You get to have multiple wives, marry 2 or 3 or 4, unlike Muslim women who are only allowed one husband. And while multiple wives can multiply problems, like you might have to do a little bit more of the old smackaroo, you as a Muslim man get to call the shots. That's what we saw from Muhammad's excellent example cited earlier in the Study Quran. And it's something that's reinforced repeatedly in Sharia law. So it's obligatory for a woman to let her husband have sex with her whenever he asks. A husband possesses full rights to enjoy his wife's person. The husband is not obliged to have intercourse with his wife. The husband is only required to support his wife when she allows him full sexual enjoyment of her person. And yes, even the angelic host reinforces this from above as they curse women who refuse to satisfy their husband's needs on demand. In summary, if you fear rebellion from your wives, it's going to cost them. And if your wives fear rebellion from you, it's going to cost them. Either way, it costs them. It's good to be a Muslim man. The third reason it's great to be a Muslim man is that there are times when even multiple choice wives aren't enough. We can turn again to Muhammad's excellent example to find the solution to this problem. Muslim sources tell us that Muhammad liked to have sex with numerous slave girls. Sometimes this made his wives jealous, but then Allah revealed to Muhammad that he could keep having his way with whatever woman he wanted, as the Muslim commentators tell us. You can pause the video if you have nothing better to do with your life than read descriptions of Muhammad's sexual adventures, recorded so faithfully by Muslim men. And Muslim men know that Allah has given them the very same privileges. Muslim men need to guard their private parts except from their wives and the women they own that they also want to have sex with as well, which is really an odd definition of guarding. And the fourth reason it's great to be a Muslim man is that these sexual delights continue in paradise, prepared by Allah Himself. And so the Quran speaks of well-proportioned, perpetual virgins, and blah, blah, blah. It's also interesting that any privileges that Allah has prepared, especially for women in paradise, don't even warrant mentioning in the Quran. It's just not that important. And finally, men are just better. They're smarter and approximately twice as trustworthy as women, which is why Surah 2 requires 2 male witnesses or 1 male and 2 women. Muhammad said this was because of the deficiency of a woman's mind. The same deficiency contributes to the greater chance of women being in hell. So there are just 5 or so reasons it's great to be a Muslim man. Let me know some more in the comments section. Also check out next week's video called Why It's Great to Be a Muslim Woman. Just kidding. I wouldn't lie to you like that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.